charitable giving, and how to maximize how much impact your dollar has. In 2007, I had a windfall year. I had been working at Microsoft, I got a big bonus from them, I sold a bunch of domains that I had, my websites were making a ton of money, and I thought, I should give some of this back. And so I set up a fund that basically took 5 charitable areas. I say organizations, but some of them were not organizations. They were kids that I was scholarshiping to go to high school, and some of it was working with a camp program to build out a program, and some of it was Planned Parenthood, which was an organization, but I was working with the local chapter. But long story short, I reached out to these organizations and said, I want to give you money. How would you use it? What can we accomplish? And how are you going to prove you're accomplishing it with the money that I'm giving you? And so 5 organizations, $30,000 each, a set of goals, and a 5-year plan to achieve those goals. And I'm very happy that the camp that I worked with built a leadership and team building program that went from being something they didn't have to something that's now profitable enough that it's funding the rest of the camp so that they can expand and do growth, and they don't need my money to sustain that anymore. And the kids that I helped go to high school or private high school have done very well raising scholarships and finding things so that they can go on to college, and for all of them they are the first of their family to do so. And that was really impactful to me. I am continuing with the donation that I'm giving to Planned Parenthood because their program is being successful, it's meeting their goals. But 2 other organizations that I donated to, I'm not going to continue with because they attached religious or political views to their goals, and I said, hey, no, you have to do these services for anybody who wants them or qualifies for them, and qualifies cannot include a religion. And that pissed them off, and they're annoyed that I'm not giving them more money in the future. But it really comes down to, I wanted to make sure that what was being done benefited everybody, not just a very small niche of people for the most part. And by giving the organization goals and working with them, I know that the money didn't just get lost to management, which is one of the biggest frustrations that I have with charitable giving. You know, a lot of people donate to Wikipedia, and setting aside the fact that I am very anti-Wikipedia because there's so much misinformation and half-truths, and they just steal things from copyrighted sources and paste them in, setting that all aside, the real problem I have with Wikipedia is how much they pay their employees for what they do, because it's a charity and there ought to be a cap on how much you can make in your charity, you know, or from your charity. You know, paying somebody $200,000 at a middle tier may get you somebody who's qualified, and I get that if you have a qualified person, they're going to do a lot of good. But when you're talking about organizations that have minimal costs of operation and don't have to have direct impact, you know, if you're working with a organization that's going to say, hey, we're going to give free plastic surgery to kids with cleft lips, yes, you want to find people that are going to do that and spend the money to have the right people. But the management shouldn't, in most cases, be the people who are getting paid more than $500,000. And when you cross that threshold, that really is kind of the number. You know, $200,000, you can say, yeah, you know, I probably couldn't get somebody as good for this price, or I need somebody who's this level and I'm not going to get them unless I spend that much. But when you start talking about the charitable leaders who are making $500,000 or $800,000 or $1.2 million as some of the top tiered organizations have, something's wrong. You know, that's just not how a charity is supposed to be set up, but is what a lot of them do. The other problem that I have with charitable giving, where people just donate money, is that they don't know what the money's doing. A lot of people are very surprised to learn that the Humane Society euthanizes so many animals. Like, if an animal comes in and it looks like it has a disease, even something curable and minor like mange, the animal could get put down. If they don't think they can adopt that animal in X number of days, they don't even bother trying. They don't give it medical care, they don't do anything. It's just, let's euthanize it, put it to sleep, put it down, whatever word you like, whichever one's politically safe for you. But that, to me, is not the way that you should be treating animals. It doesn't seem humane that every animal with any kind of injury should be put down, or any animal that got taken from somewhere bad, like, oh, we just rescued all of these dogs from the illegal animal racetrack, we're going to put them all down because they were poorly treated. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Then there's the people who don't give because they don't like one little thing that an organization does. And, granted, I just said, no religions, no whatever, but that's a thing that they're actively doing as opposed to a service they're offering because of. When you donate to an animal rescue, they may put some animals down, and you say, yes, they have to put certain animals down, it's too bad, but it has to happen. When you say, oh, I don't want to give to Planned Parenthood because they do abortions. Yes, but they also do birth control, and particularly the program that I was working with does postnatal parenting lessons. So it's like, you just had a baby, here's what you need to know about your baby so that you don't kill it, maim it, scar it for life, any of those kinds of bad things. And people don't really seem to always keep track of what their organization does. Now, I get upset with the American Cancer Association because you go out to their website and they're like, oh yeah, we do this a home away from home lodging thing for the friends and relatives of people who are getting cancer treatments, and you say, yeah, that's very Ronald McDonald House-like, I like that. And they talk about, oh, we do these things to help women with beautification so that, they lost their hair, they don't lose their self-esteem. You say, yeah, that's good. But they don't put onto their website that they give large amounts of money to cancer research in patented organizations, so that they're basically saying, here you go, here's money, go approve this drug at the FDA with minimal testing to see whether it's safe so that the drug companies can make more money. Or they just plain fund research that is being done by the drug companies and it will be patented and the drug companies will make more money. And, there's people like, oh, but they're working on cures for cancer. They're working on cancer treatments, not cancer cures, because the drug companies don't want to cure cancer, they just want to treat cancer so they can make money for a long period of time. But really, it's the idea that, why would I give you money as a charity so that you can make money on the thing that you research from? That's kind of like the reverse venture capitalist. If I'm going to give you money because I think you might do things that are going to make more money in the future? No. So my real advice in doing charitable giving is either give a large enough amount to a single organization that you can set up and manage how that's going to be spent and track it, or pool together with a group of people that you can do those things. If you are a member of a church, get together with a church and say, hey, we're going to start a fund, it's going to give $5,000 a year to this organization to do this thing. And $5,000 is enough that you can start to put some watermarks on it and say, or earmarks rather than watermarks, but that you can say, this is what this money is going to do, show us that it worked every year. And it gets really easy when you start to hit $50,000 and $100,000 because you're funding a whole person at that organization to do something. And I think that's the real difference, is when you start to get to the point that you are giving enough to donate a person to that organization, you can really start to say, this person, they are allocated to do this thing, let's measure that they actually do it. And so I get real frustrated by the people like, oh, I give $15 here and I give $20 here and I spread my giving across 20 organizations. Well, it may make you feel good to spread your wealth across 20 organizations, but how about get 20 friends and pick 20 organizations and do the equivalent of giving all of your money to one, so that you're making enough of an impact that you can put those checks and balances on how they spend it. And to me, that is how you make sure that the charitable giving that you're doing has the maximum impact.